These are really good because, as I said, you don't need to go really heavy to get a great amount of work in. So it's not going to tax your central nervous system. It shouldn't affect your squat, bench, or deadlift. We don't all have access to everything, but you know, instead of complaining about what you don't have, maximize the use out of the things that you do have, and you won't be left behind, I promise. One more piece of advice: if you find that one hand is a little stronger than the other, meaning the hand that you touch yourself with more often is stronger than the other hand, I simply suggest you just swap hands for a bit, because we don't want to have a weak side. And it might also feel like someone else is doing it for you for a change, which would be nice. And welcome back to your mum's favorite channel on YouTube, Cult Strength. Now today we have grip work. Now imagine this, okay? Imagine you're at competition or you're in the gym and you're attempting a deadlift that you've been working towards for months and months. Blood, sweat, and tears and everything going into your training for this one attempt. Now imagine you're about to start that lift. It comes off the floor, it flies off the floor, and just as you're getting to lockout, it slips away. It slips out of your fingertips. Everything you've been working towards. Imagine that. It feels shit. Now, if you don't want that to happen to you, you better make sure that your grip is sound and secure. I'm going to show you some very easy ways that you can do that in the gym. Let's get it, baby. All right, guys, so I'm going to show you some very easy ways that you can increase your grip strength or enhance your grip strength. Right now, we don't want grip to be a weak link. That's very frustrating. And for me personally, I love having strong grip. My grip has never really been a weak point for me, and I never want it to be. These are what we do our work with, all right? And they should be one of the strongest things that you have. That's my belief. Now, you don't have to have anything fancy or any grip specific equipment to improve your grip. You really don't. It's one of the easiest things you can train. I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, we'll start with the real basics, okay? So let's say you're trying to build a big deadlift, but your grip's let you down a little bit. Something we can start with that is very simple, very easy, is a basic grip hold. Now, I'll explain, a few different ways we can do this and why we might choose to do those things. So come over here. All right. For demonstration's sake, we have 100 kilos on here now, right? It's a grip specific exercise, so we don't have to pick it up off the ground. It's not a deadlift, okay? We're just working on our endurance with our hands and obviously their capacity for what they can hold. Now, you can do this double overhanded, all right, which is like this. Now, when you're doing double overhand, don't do hook grip, okay? That's not what we're trying to do here. This is probably the hardest way to hold the bar, right? So, nice and simple thing to do would be simply holds like this, okay? Now, if you wanted to go heavy or really heavy with this, you could do a mixed grip hold, which is more specific perhaps to your deadlift technique, right? Easy, okay? Now, when we're doing these kinds of things, we need to also set a precedent for progression, just like we do with our other training. So it's not about necessarily coming in some random day and going, I'm gonna try and hold 300 kilos for as long as I can, okay? That might not be the most productive way to train your grip. We need to have a plan. So we need to plan for sets and for time, potentially, instead of reps, right? So let's say you start with 100 kilos. You might go in and you do 3 sets of, say, 15 to 20 second holds with a double overhand. And that might leave you with, say, 5 to 10 seconds in the tank. So you're not doing a max hold, okay? But what we're doing is we're allowing progression. You might come back the following week and do the same thing with 10 to 20 kilos heavier, all right? Until eventually it becomes too heavy. You might start to drop the time down to 5 to 10 seconds per set. And saying that, you can do much longer than 15 to 20 seconds. I do think there is definitely a place for max endurance holds with a lighter weight. Because I also wanted to touch on the fact of this, is that grip work is extremely taxing, on the central nervous system, especially if you're doing heavy grip work. We don't need to do heavy grip work to have a strong grip, okay? There's other easier ways to build your grip. So doing it for time is excellent. Now the nuance with this particular exercise is that people tend to find a way to cheat to make it easier, which is defeating the purpose of what they're trying to achieve with the grip training. Now, what can happen is this. I'm not going to say that it does happen, but there's an easy fix for this, right? And it's another way, again, to make something more difficult without doing heavier weights. You would actually have to handle a lighter load to do the same amount of work. But this is what tends to happen with this particular style, is that when it gets heavy, we can pick it up, right? And then as it starts to slip, we lean back a little bit. And now our thighs are actually supporting a part of the weight. So it becomes a lot easier to hold, but I can sit here and hold it like this all day because my hands aren't doing all the work, opposed to standing up tall like this, right? So instead of, wondering, am I leaning back too far, etc., we can simply do it like this. We stand in front of the bar, all right? So it's behind the back grip hold. And now when we stand up, okay, we can't rest the bar or support the weight on our legs. Simple. Now, how we would train that again, it would be very similar. You want to progress it weekly in some sort of fashion. You might have a 6 to 8 week plan of, your grip training, and you would start with 30 to 60 second holds, working down to 5-second holds. So I would recommend doing it behind the back if you're going to be doing it frequently, because if you're already deadlifting heavy, you don't necessarily need to hold heavy weights in the hands to get that grip stronger. So reduce the load, add time, do it behind your back, and I think that's probably a more valuable way of doing grip work without frying your central nervous system. That's our first exercise. We'll take a minute. We're going to move on to pinch grip and plate holds, which are, again, a lot more difficult, meaning less weight, but an extreme challenge. Let's go. All right, guys, so there are your basic barbell holds in front of the body and behind the body for your grip strength. Now, this is a different way to train our grip. Now, obviously, that movement is hand around the barbell and squeeze. So we're using our whole hand to create pressure to stop the bar falling out of our hands. With this movement, it is a pinch grip. So this is a way to train our grip in a different manner, right? So instead of crushing like this, we're creating force between our fingertips, okay? To create pressure to stop the plates from slipping. I'm gonna show you what I mean in a moment. So I'm gonna use 2 10-kilo plates. Now again, this is a very simple and effective way to train your grip without needing anything fancy. All you need is a couple of plates. I'm sure you can fucking source that and manage that, right? Now you might want to start with something a little lighter or a little heavier. And if it gets, more difficult, you can also use chalk as well to stop slipping. But this is pretty comfortable and light. What I'm going to do here, I'll show you a few repetitions, and then obviously we can do this by doing sets and reps or sets for time. Like the same as the barbell holds. It really depends on how you're going to factor this into your training. So simply, we're starting on the ground here, do a few reps. So what we're going to do, we're squeezing this together as hard as we can, right? If I'm not squeezing it hard enough, see how the plates will slip and they won't come up together, right? What we want to do is squeeze it nice and hard, steady in the hands, right? I'm pinching it as hard as I can, creating force inwards with my fingertips. We'll do the left side to even it out. Squeezing in with my thumb and all 4 of my fingertips. All right, we can do it for time. We can hold it for 20 or 30 seconds or so. It just depends, as I said, on how you're going to implement this into your training. Now there's one other pinch grip exercise that we can do. And this one will involve having a calibrated plate or at least a thinner plate. Now, the problem with, regular cast iron kilogram or pound plates for you Americans is the lip here is too big and it's very easy to pick it up. With the calibrated plates, it's almost thin. Like there's a tiny lip here, but fuck all, not really enough to get a hold of. So again, I'm pinching as hard as I can. Now this one is a little more difficult than the last one, and also be careful of your toes. All right, so again, pinching. Try not to use the lip. Try to squeeze in. And again, if it gets hard, you can always, use chalk. You can do it for reps and you can do it for time. But again, very simple and effective ways to maximize your grip strength. You don't need fancy shit. The actual implementing it into your training isn't that difficult either. And these are really good because, as I said, you don't need to go really heavy to get a great amount of work in. So it's not going to tax your central nervous system. It shouldn't affect your squat, bench, or deadlift, but it will help your grip. All right, baby. We've got 2 more to go. Chat in a minute. All right, so there is your pinch grip plate holds. As I said, excellent, to add in to your grip work. That could even be, everything your grip work is based around, because if you're doing a lot of heavy deadlifting already and things like that, that is indirectly grip work, right? Especially if we're not using straps. So one thing I'll definitely add to this is that if you're using straps during your deadlift, okay, and grip is a weakness for you, just be careful with it, right? Now, I understand that we still need to get some work in, and we don't want to be, selling ourselves short in a sense that we're not lifting as heavy as we can purely because our grip won't let us. Okay, yes, sure, it's okay to put your straps on to get your overload work in, but I would be doing as many warm-ups as I can without straps, and all of your accessory work without them as well, because that is a sign that your grip is your weak link. So deadlift training is a good way to indirectly train your grip, but if your grip isn't fantastic, or perhaps you are trying to lift some insane amounts of weight and you need to have godlike grip, then these movements are excellent to add in on top of that. And I think most people, to be honest, could definitely do with adding some grip work in. I don't do a lot of specific grip work, but when I get close to competition and my goal is to pull 400 kilos plus without straps, then yes, I will do a little bit. But I am lucky enough to have decent grip strength. In saying that, it wasn't a fucking fluke. I did do a lot of this stuff early on to help build that strength, and I've maintained it with heavy deadlifting and things like pull-ups. I weigh 140 kilos, so again, indirect grip work is everywhere. Now, this movement, okay, again, super simple, a basic dumbbell hold. Now, I would say you could do a farmer's hold, like a farmer carry hold, but again, that's maybe, not everyone has that piece of equipment, not everyone has strongman equipment, but a good way to do a farmer's hold or a farmer's carry is with dumbbells. You can use heavy dumbbells. Now, one thing I'll say is, come down with me. When we're doing grip work with dumbbells, what's going to be really important is that where we're holding it, when we pick it up, that the actual dumbbell head isn't resting on our wrist, because then it's actually taking away from our grip work, okay? We're no longer relying simply on our grip to hold it. We're now leveraging the weights against our wrist, which makes it a lot easier. So when you're doing this kind of work, make sure you're not cheating yourself, okay? Now, again, this can be executed the same way, but I do prefer doing my farmer's carries, my grip holds especially, for endurance, okay, for long periods of time. I won't normally go less than 10 seconds unless I'm doing something stupid to fuck around and find out. But for example, if I was doing these with dumbbells, I might do 30 to 60 second holds. Now, when you're doing the dumbbell work, you can also choose to make it like a farmer's carry, right, where you're actually walking with the dumbbells like the strongman event. But that is, again, taking the grip work somewhere else, because it's now training something else, right? We're training a farmer's carry, which is grip work, but it's also requiring a lot of strength and coordination to move. So in its simplest form, simply holding dumbbells or farmer's handles is a tremendous way to build grip. And I've got the 50s here. As I said, I'll try not to let the dumbbells rest on my arms. But again, simply hold, okay? Try to use no chalk, okay? You know, it's okay if they're slippery. That makes it a little more difficult, which means you have to focus and squeeze your hands together harder, and it's gonna allow you to get hard work in with, let's say, less than heavy weight. But that's a real simple one. Anyone can do this. I'm sure you have a pair of dumbbells around. You know, if you don't have anything heavy enough, hold it for a long fucking time, okay? We don't all have access to everything, but you know, instead of complaining about what you don't have, maximize the use out of the things that you do have, and you won't be left behind, I promise. Just don't be lazy with it. You know, if you're not sure of your grip strength, or you're not confident with your grip strength, that is a simple sign to tell me that your grip isn't strong enough. You should have no doubt when you're handling heavy weights if you're going to be able to hold on to it or not. We've got one more to go. This is a fun one. For me, I like to use this as my transport, as in it's the pain train, if you know what I'm saying. Let's go. All right, guys, now the last one. This is one of my favorites, and sometimes it's, you know, it's fun to do a little challenge with your mates with it, to see who can hang from a bar for the longest period of time. Now you can do this with just your body weight, you can add weight to yourself, but there's two ways you can hold the bar. Okay, now we can just be, you know, normal and squeeze the bar like normal, right? Or you can be a sick cunt like me, and we're gonna hold ourselves up with our fingertips. Okay, now I'm 140 kilos roughly, 308 pounds, and I can do this, you know, pretty comfortably for a minute. Comfortably, okay, it hurts. This is gonna give you the most severe, intense forearm pump of your fucking life. After I do a minute of these with my fingertips, my forearms are like double the size. You know what I mean? But I'm not gonna do a minute right now. This is a demonstration. I've already done my grip work. You're gonna see that very soon. I'll just do, say, 20 seconds now, keeping in mind, when we do this, we're just trying to let ourselves hang, okay? I'm not trying to pull myself up. I'm just hanging as a dead weight from my fingertips, okay? And if you wanna get a little more fancy, you can even give it a couple little fingertip pumps, as you'll see. But again, this is an excellent finisher. Like, this is a great finisher, and I would implement your grip training into your training perhaps at the end of a deadlift day, or perhaps, you know, after you've trained arms or after a bench press day. I wouldn't do it more than once a week, especially if you're doing a lot of deadlifting, because as I said, your central nervous system and your grip are closely intertwined, so too much of either, you know, can be detrimental. So we just want to add a nice little amount to supplement the rest of our training so that our grip isn't a weak point. All right, baby. Fingertips, let's go. So you can hang, and you can start doing this. Pumping your fingers. You know, your missus would probably thank you for it, or your boyfriend, or whoever you're intimate with. They always appreciate nice strong fingers. You know what I'm saying? But that's an excellent way to finish off a session. You can do a maximum hold. You can just do, you know, one set for as long as you can. That's a fantastic way to wrap up your grip training or session. But yeah, I hope this stuff helps, guys. It's quite simple. It's not really anything complicated, you know. This is all stuff that you will find in almost any gym, even home gyms. Okay, I don't actually own any grip specific training tools. I would love to get some, because to be honest, in my old age, I'm 34 now, I'm starting to like the appeal of grip training as something on the side, bit of a side quest. You know, you see a lot of the guys on YouTube doing that at the moment, and it looks like a lot of fun, to be honest with you, and I think I'd do quite well. I have quite a good grip. One more piece of advice: if you find that one hand is a little stronger than the other, meaning the hand that you touch yourself with more often is stronger than the other hand, I simply suggest you just swap hands for a bit, because we don't want to have a weak side. And it might also feel like someone else is doing it for you for a change, which would be nice. But make sure you like this video, drop a comment, subscribe to my page, because I'd appreciate that. I have my Patreon. I admit, I do need to start making a couple more videos on there. I'm sorry, guys. I ended up, this is day 11, I think, in a row of posting on YouTube. I've just been making so much content. Sometimes I forget to make content for different platforms. So I will get around to it and make it up to you. I do a lot of interesting things that I want to talk about. So if you're a big fan of the channel and you want to support me and what I do, that is a great way to do it. I'll put the link here for you. And also, big thank you to all the people who have signed up to my membership tier here on YouTube. You guys are sick cunts. And you know, always do my best to reply to everybody. If you have comments, you have questions, hit me up. I'm gonna do my best. But until next time, you know what to do, baby. Go to the fucking gym. Stop touching yourself. You can do it anytime you want. Anytime you want. Just go to the fucking gym first, and then you can go and do it. Do something productive. Let's go.